Life today feels like a never-ending race. The alarm rings, you grab your phone, and suddenly you're pulled into a whirlwind of notifications, emails, and news updates. Before you know it, half the day is gone, and your mind is spinning with stress and scattered thoughts. Sound familiar? This isn't just your story. It's the reality for so many men juggling work, family, and the pressure to keep up in a fast-paced world. But here's a bold truth. It doesn't have to be this way. What if there was a way to take back control, to feel calm, focused, and purposeful again? Stoic philosophy, proven by both ancient wisdom and modern science, holds the answers. It's not about abandoning life's responsibilities, but about approaching them with clarity and resilience. Are you ready to discover how Stoicism can help you overcome distractions, manage emotions, and lead with strength? In this video, we'll explore powerful yet practical lessons that can reshape your life in 2025. These ideas are designed for modern men like you, men who want to thrive, not just survive. Before we dive in, hit the like button and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official. Together, we'll unlock the principles that lead to a stronger mind, deeper connections, and a life that truly aligns with your values. Let's start this journey to clarity and purpose, right here, right now. Number 1. Master your digital fortress. Control the chaos. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In a world dominated by technology, where every buzz, ping, and notification seems to demand our attention, these words carry profound meaning. Today, we are constantly surrounded by distractions, texts, emails, social media updates, and news flashes that seem urgent, pulling us in all directions. The chaos isn't just external. It seeps into our thoughts, our decisions, and even our relationships. This is why learning to master our digital fortress is more important than ever. Consider this scenario. A man sits down to enjoy dinner with his family, his phone by his side. Almost immediately, it lights up with notifications. An email, a news alert, a social media post. They all seem important, so he takes a glance. Before he knows it, he's deep into an online conversation, completely distracted from the moment he's supposed to be sharing with his loved ones. Sound familiar? This isn't just about distraction. It's about allowing the outside world to take control of our inner peace and peace of mind. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we don't need to let external forces dictate how we feel or how we live our lives. The truth is, it's not about disconnecting from technology entirely. It's about learning how to use it on our terms. Technology is a tool meant to serve us, not control us. By setting clear boundaries, we can protect our mental space and avoid unnecessary stress. For example, you might try scheduling tech-free meals or begin your day with mindfulness instead of diving into emails. Research shows that taking breaks from screens actually enhances focus, lowers stress levels, and improves our overall well-being. Think about how much time you spend reacting to notifications that will have no impact tomorrow. Have you ever wondered how much more you could accomplish if you reclaimed that time? The beauty of mastering your digital fortress is that it doesn't require drastic changes. It can start with small steps. Turning off non-essential alerts, setting boundaries around phone use, or dedicating certain hours for tech-free time can make a huge difference. Picture this. Rather than being bombarded with emails the moment you wake up, you start your day intentionally, calm and focused, ready to engage with the day ahead. This approach isn't just about becoming more productive. It's about building mental resilience. In a world that constantly pulls us in different directions, learning to control where we focus our attention is empowering. The world will always be noisy, but we can decide how much of that noise we allow into our lives. So, how will you guard your digital fortress today? What's one small step you can take to regain control over your attention and protect your inner peace? Remember, your mind is your most powerful ally. Treat it as such. By mastering your digital environment, you are also mastering your life. Number 2. Focus on the present. Act now, not later. True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. Seneca. We've all been there, caught in the endless cycle of planning, anticipating, and second-guessing. It's so easy to get caught up in the rush of tomorrow, worrying about what's to come, or replaying yesterday's mistakes in our minds, thinking we could have done things differently. We let the present slip away while we chase after what's already gone or hasn't even arrived. Yet, as Seneca wisely points out, happiness isn't about waiting for the right moment or perfecting the past. It's about finding peace in the here and now. Picture this: a man at his desk, staring at his never-ending to-do list. His mind is filled with the anxiety of unfinished tasks from yesterday and an overwhelming pile of things to do tomorrow. He starts one task but quickly jumps to another, struggling to focus on any one thing for long. By the end of the day, he feels exhausted, but if he looks back, he realizes that nothing got done. Does this sound familiar? The truth is, it wasn't the workload that drained him. It was his inability to focus on now. Stoicism teaches us that the only moment we truly own is the present. Time is fleeting, and once it's gone forever. This is a message echoed not just by philosophers but by modern science as well. Neuroscience shows that being present, practicing mindfulness, and grounding yourself in the moment can reduce stress and increase productivity. So, why do we spend so much of our time living anywhere but the present moment? Is it the comfort of imagining a better future, or the misguided belief that ruminating over the past will somehow change it? Let's break it down. The next time you start your day, don't let the sheer magnitude of your to-do list overwhelm you. Instead, focus on one clear goal, just one. This small but intentional choice helps anchor your actions. Whether you're eating, working, or talking to someone, make a conscious effort to truly engage in that moment. When eating, savor the flavors. When someone speaks, listen deeply without planning your reply. These simple acts of mindfulness help pull you back to the here and now. And let's not forget the humor in all of this. Ever caught yourself worrying about something trivial, like whether you locked the door, only to realize later that it didn't even matter? Life has a way of showing us how often we waste time and energy on what doesn't matter, while the important moments pass us by. Now think about this. How many moments of joy are slipping away because your mind is elsewhere? What precious memories are you missing out on because you're distracted by things you can't control? Imagine what it would feel like to live fully in the moment, noticing the little details, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the laughter of your child, or even the simple satisfaction of completing a task with focus and care. Today is not just a stepping stone to tomorrow. It is the foundation for everything that follows. So ask yourself, what's one small change you can make today to ground yourself in the present? When you begin to experience the clarity, peace, and joy of truly living in the now, you'll wonder how you ever managed without it. Number 3, stop seeking validation. Define your standards. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." This quote challenges the conventional need for approval from others, urging us to define success on our terms. We live in a world where external validation often feels like a necessity, yet Stoicism teaches us that it is precisely the pursuit of others' approval that keeps us from living authentically. How often do we bend and twist to meet the expectations of others? Whether at work, in our social circles, or on social media, the desire for validation seems to creep in, influencing our decisions and our self-worth. Consider the man who spends hours preparing the perfect post on social media. He selects the best photo, crafts a witty caption, and obsessively checks back to monitor the likes and comments. When the likes don't come in as expected, he feels deflated and discouraged, even though, on some level, he knows it shouldn't matter. Here's the kicker. The issue wasn't the post, but the belief that his worth was tied to the number of likes or shares he received. His value was dictated by someone else's fleeting approval. Stoicism invites us to challenge this mindset by focusing inward rather than relying on external validation. True freedom, according to the Stoics, arises when we define our standards. Modern psychology aligns with this idea. Research consistently shows that intrinsic motivation, living in alignment with our values and passions, leads to deeper satisfaction and long-term happiness. So why then do we continue to seek external validation? Is it because we believe that approval from others will somehow confirm our worth? Or is it simply easier to rely on others' opinions than to do the hard work of developing self-acceptance? Here's the hard truth. You'll never be able to please everyone. Even if you hit every target and say all the right things, there will always be someone somewhere ready to criticize you. So why waste precious energy trying to fit into molds that weren't made for you? Instead, take a step back and ask yourself, what do I value? What kind of person do I want to be? Write those answers down and let them guide your actions, not the opinions of others. Let's add a little humor here to lighten the mood. Picture this. Someone spends hours obsessing over how their lawn looks, worrying that their neighbors will judge them. They meticulously trim, mow, and rake, only to discover that the neighbor didn't even notice. We often give far too much weight to things that don't matter, don't we? Imagine the liberation of living authentically, where your actions align with your values instead of someone else's expectations. How much lighter would you feel if you stopped chasing likes, nods, or compliments and simply embraced the freedom of being yourself? Here's a question for you. What's one area of your life where you're still seeking validation from others? What would happen if, just for one day, you let go of that need and trust your judgment instead? You might just discover that the approval you've been chasing was never as important as you once thought. The true validation comes from within, and that's where your real power lies. Number 4, build emotional armor. Stop being a slave to emotions. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This profound wisdom rings true for anyone who has ever let anger, fear, frustration control their actions. Emotions are powerful. They can ignite a fire within us, or they can burn us out entirely. However, the key to mastering them is not in eliminating them, but in learning to respond to them thoughtfully, rather than reacting impulsively. Let's consider an example. Picture a man driving home after a long day of work. He's already tired, mentally drained, and eager to get to his couch. Suddenly, another car cuts him off, and just like that, a wave of anger surges through him. His hands tighten around the steering wheel, his heart races, and he mutters under his breath, ready to lash out. By the time he pulls into his driveway, the anger still lingers. He's carried that negative emotion with him all the way home, letting it poison his evening. But here's the twist. The other driver likely didn't even notice him, let alone intend to hurt him. Yet he allowed that split-second event to control his entire evening. This is where Stoicism offers an enlightening perspective. Modern neuroscience tells us that emotions are natural. Our bodies react to stimuli in ways that are often beyond our control. Like waves, they rise and fall, unpredictable and powerful. But here's the Stoic secret. We have the power to choose how we respond to these waves. We don't have to let them crash over us uncontrollably. When we pause, step back, and reflect on our emotional response, we create space between stimulus and reaction. That's when we can choose how to act with clarity and wisdom, rather than allowing impulsive reactions to dictate our actions. Think about it. How many times have you been in a heated argument, only to look back and realize that taking a breath would have diffused the situation entirely? Or how many opportunities have you missed because fear or self-doubt convinced you that you weren't ready? These emotions, though valid, can sometimes be exaggerated in our minds, leading us to make decisions that aren't aligned with our true goals or values. The more we allow emotions to rule our behavior, the more we surrender our power to them, often with regret. The next time you feel a surge of emotion, whether it's frustration in a work meeting or anxiety before making an important decision, take a moment to pause, count to 10, breathe deeply. Ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me? Is my reaction helpful or harmful? That simple pause creates room for clarity, allowing you to respond with intentionality instead of being swept away by the current of your feelings. It's important to note that emotions often exaggerate. We've all been there, stressing over a presentation or an important conversation, only to realize afterward that the outcome wasn't nearly as bad as we imagined. Humor can be an ally here. Sometimes our minds take on a dramatic, exaggerated narrative that's far from reality. Recognizing that can help us detach from emotional turbulence. So here's the question. What would your life look like if you stopped letting emotions dictate your actions? How would your relationships change if you chose patience over anger, understanding over frustration? How much stress could you shed if you faced your fears instead of running from them? Embrace the truth that you have the power over your emotions, not the other way around. You can choose how to respond. How will you use that power today? Number 5. Simplify your life. Need less, live more. True wealth lies in wanting less than you have, said Epictetus. This profound Stoic insight serves as a timeless guide for simplifying our lives and finding true contentment. We live in a world where more is often seen as better. More money, more things, more recognition. Yet, despite accumulating more, many find themselves feeling emptier than ever. What if the secret to happiness lies not in acquiring more, but in needing less? Imagine a woman who spent her days chasing the latest trends, constantly purchasing things she didn't need. Her home was filled with things she rarely used, and her bank account was barely keeping up. Yet, she felt an inner void, a sense of dissatisfaction that all the new things she had couldn't fill. One day, she decided to radically change her approach. She began by decluttering her home, selling off half of her possessions, and focusing only on what truly added value to her life. The result? A profound sense of freedom, clarity, and a deeper connection with herself. She discovered that her need for more things had been a distraction from the life she truly wanted to live. What about you? Do you ever find yourself accumulating things or chasing goals that might not add real value to your happiness? How often do you feel the pressure to keep up with external standards of success, only to realize that they leave you feeling more disconnected and stressed? Here's the twist. Simplifying doesn't mean depriving yourself of enjoyment or pleasure. It means prioritizing what truly matters. The Stoics didn't advise self-denial for the sake of hardship, but rather for the sake of clarity. Ask yourself, does owning the latest gadgets or constantly upgrading your wardrobe bring lasting joy, or does it just add more clutter to your mind and your life? How much of your stress comes from maintaining things you don't even truly care about, things that you keep only because society says you should? And let's face it, many of the things we need are often just attempts to impress others. The new car, the designer handbag, or the flashy gadget. Do they truly bring us fulfillment, or are they just ways to gain approval from people who don't even really know us? Simplifying is about reclaiming the power to define our worth, not allowing the opinions of others to dictate our happiness. It's about saying, I define who I am, not my stuff. Here's a challenge for you. What's one thing you could let go of today that doesn't serve your well-being? Maybe it's an old habit that's holding you back, a toxic relationship that drains your energy, or even just that cluttered drawer in your kitchen that's been bothering you for months. Think about the mental relief and clarity you'd gain by making space in your life for what truly matters. By simplifying, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and distractions. You make room for things that nourish your soul, meaningful relationships, personal growth, and experiences that truly enrich your life. The next time you're tempted to buy something or take on another obligation, ask yourself, does this align with my values and what I truly need? Or am I just filling a void? Remember, true abundance isn't measured by how much you have, but by how little you need to feel content. So what's stopping you from starting today? Let go of the excess, embrace simplicity, and rediscover the wealth that comes from living with less, but loving life more. Number 6. Strengthen relationships. Lead with emotional intelligence. Man is not disturbed by things, but by the views he takes of them, wrote Epictetus, reminding us that our emotions and how we handle them shape our relationships. Emotional intelligence is the art of understanding those emotions and using them wisely, not just for ourselves, but for others. In the context of relationships, it can mean the difference between building trust and sparking conflict. Picture a man whose colleague frequently interrupts him during meetings. Frustrated, he initially considers snapping back or avoiding future conversations, but instead he pauses, reflects, and decides to approach the situation calmly. He shares how the interruptions affect him, but he also asks if something is bothering the colleague. This act of emotional intelligence diffuses tension and reveals a misunderstanding. Imagine if he had let anger dictate his actions. Would the outcome have been so constructive? We've all been in situations where emotions seem to take the wheel. Maybe a friend cancels plans last minute, and the sting of rejection sparks a petty response. But here's the Stoic twist. What if we could see beyond our immediate feelings? Could it be that their cancellation has more to do with their struggles than our worth? How often do we let assumptions sabotage meaningful connections? Leading with emotional intelligence requires two things: mastering your own emotions and showing empathy for others. It's not about suppressing feelings, but responding thoughtfully. Think of it this way. If you're drowning in your frustrations, how can you notice someone else's pain? Emotional intelligence is like a bridge. It connects self-awareness to compassion, allowing you to navigate tricky conversations with grace. Here's a humorous truth. Most people aren't mind readers. That passive-aggressive sigh? It's probably lost on your partner or friend. Direct communication, assertive yet kind, is often the simplest solution. So why do we default to expecting others to just know what we need? What if we flipped the script and focused on understanding their needs instead? Now let's pose a challenge. Think of a recent disagreement you had. Did you respond with curiosity or defensiveness? Did you seek to understand, or did you react based on assumptions? Emotional intelligence asks us to lean into discomfort, to ask, what's happening here, instead of lashing out or shutting down. As you reflect, consider this. How might your relationships transform if you consistently practiced patience, empathy, and open dialogue? Leading with emotional intelligence isn't just about avoiding conflict. It's about fostering deeper connections rooted in trust and understanding. After all, isn't that the foundation of any meaningful relationship? Number 7. Embrace change, flow with life's shifts. Nothing endures but change, said Heraclitus, echoed later by Stoic philosophers who embraced the inevitability of life's shifts. It's a truth that can feel both freeing and unsettling. Change is the one constant, yet how often do we resist it, clinging to what's familiar even when it no longer serves us? Stoicism teaches us that instead of fighting the current, we should learn to flow with it. Consider a woman whose job unexpectedly gets downsized. At first, she's overwhelmed by fear. What will she do next? But after some reflection, she realizes it's an opportunity. She's always wanted to start her own business, but the stability of her job kept her from leaping. What seemed like a loss became a door she hadn't dared to open before. Would she have reached this realization if she had let fear paralyze her? Change often feels like an unwelcome guest, showing up when we least expect it. But have you noticed that it's not the change itself that causes the most stress? It's our resistance to it. Why do we assume life should remain predictable when everything around us, seasons, relationships, even our bodies, is in constant motion? If a river froze mid-flow, wouldn't it lose its purpose? Why then do we try to stop the flow of our own lives? Stoic philosophy encourages us to view change not as a threat, but as an opportunity to grow. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Adapt yourself to the things with which your lot has been cast." Think about that for a moment. What if every challenge, every curveball, was a chance to strengthen your resolve, to redefine your path? Maybe that awkward breakup wasn't the end of your love life. It was the beginning of learning what you truly value in a partner. And let's face it, life's unpredictability can sometimes be hilarious. Ever planned a perfect vacation only to have it rained out? A man once spent weeks organizing a hiking trip, only to find the trail closed due to flooding. Disappointed, he decided to explore the small town nearby instead, stumbling upon a hidden gem of a cafe where he met lifelong friends. Sometimes the best stories come from the plans that didn't work out. Here's something to ponder. When was the last time a change you dreaded turned out better than you imagined? How did it shape who you are today? We often fear change because it feels like losing control. But isn't it also where growth and discovery live? As you navigate the inevitable shifts in life, ask yourself, what can this teach me? How might it redirect me towards something I didn't know I needed? Flowing with change doesn't mean giving up. It means trusting that even the unexpected can carry you somewhere worthwhile. After all, isn't life's beauty in its unpredictability? As Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Throughout this video, we've explored practical Stoic principles to help you simplify your life, strengthen relationships, and embrace change with confidence. These lessons aren't just abstract philosophy. They're tools to help you navigate everyday challenges with resilience and clarity. Imagine how different your life could feel if you approached emotional manipulation, toxic behavior, or even self-doubt with the calm wisdom of Stoicism. By focusing on what you can control, letting go of what you can't, and aligning your actions with your values, you create a life built on trust, self-awareness, and purpose. But the key lies in consistent practice. It's not enough to know these ideas. Living them is what transforms. What small change will you start with today? Could it be letting go of a toxic friendship, setting clearer boundaries, or simply pausing before reacting in a moment of conflict? Reflect on your journey and consider how these insights might reshape the way you interact with yourself and others. I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you plan to apply these Stoic principles? Share your stories or reflections in the comments. Your journey might inspire someone else. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official, and join our growing community of thoughtful, growth-focused individuals. Let's keep building wisdom together.